Okay, and just like that, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited. We have a very special guest tonight. Somebody who, all right, Ian, we've had some special guests on this show. We've had dignitaries, we've had mayors of cities, presidents, we've had dictators, we've had everyone on the channel.
Yeah.
And
mayors. Yep.
Mayors, yes. And today we have the one and only Byron Lazine. Now, I could not give you a good enough intro, Byron, but Byron has been all over the place. He's got a team up in Connecticut, right? Connecticut?
You got it. Absolutely.
They do like 1,000 transactions a year. This gentleman was with Inman News, putting out content like crazy. Now he's with BAM, Broke Agent Media. Big fan of him because he's part of the Tom Ferry ecosystem. Amazing person. And if you haven't checked out any of his content, go over to Broke Agent Media, BAM. Every single day they do the hot sheet. And the hot sheet is basically all the information we're going to go over today. He breaks down the data better than anybody. Now, a lot of people get upset with this channel and they say, you realtors don't give us data. This man has the data. We got lots to go over. Byron Lazine, welcome.
Hey, I appreciate that. I think I like how you clumped me in with the dictators.
Yeah, I left dictators for last, and then Byron Lazine.
No, it was dignitaries. You just didn't hear it right. It was dignitaries.
I did say dignitaries.
I know what Jeremy's up to. I know what he's up to. And so I appreciate the invite, Ian. Big fan of what you guys are doing. I might have tuned into the last one too. I think I don't know if it was the last one, if there was one in between, but yeah, I love this show. It's an honor to be on it.
Thank you, man. Well, so Ian, we got a lot to get to today. So for folks joining in, definitely drop in your comments below. We're going to get to them as we go through. If you haven't seen the hot sheets over the last few days, there's a lot of things going on in the market right now. And so what we're going to do is go through kind of what's happening with interest rates, because Byron called it 7.1% today, right, Byron?
Yeah, we hit 7%, first 7 handle that we've officially seen, since last year. It's the highest 30-year fixed since early November. And, we could see it coming a week ago for sure, as the 10-year started to creep up. And we knew the minute the 10-year hit 4, which it did yesterday briefly, and then started the day at 4 today, we were going to be at a 7% handle, 7 handle for the 30-year fixed. And here we go. The script that all the agents were running around using 3 weeks ago is old as dirt right now, right? It's, rates have come down, activity is up. That lasted for about a week or two in January. April Fools came early, folks. That is old news now. And so the scripts don't work right now because it changes every single day. The minute you learn a script, it's outdated.
100% agree. So you've covered a lot recently, and why I really wanted to have you on tonight is because in Austin, we're facing some things, right? You have Aaron in the comments already talking about taxes being a train wreck. We have, inventory issues happening here in the Austin area. It does look like we have a lot of inventory, but I went through it today, Ian, and we actually only have 6,700 units in the 3 counties surrounding Austin, which isn't a lot. But even though MLS says it's more.
One of the things that's really important is we know that there are some builders, they don't put their entire lot of inventory on the MLS, right? So that data is still not transparent. But you're right. I mean, that's not a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot of inventory, but I'm super curious how many of these builders have extra inventory just sitting there and they're afraid to show their cards.
Right. So inventory is something we're definitely going to talk about. But as far as the interest rates go, Byron, you've done some really good. And as you talk, I have some of the stuff you brought up recently. But walk us through what you're seeing in the market, because you're predicting price drops. You and I have fought with the same group of people in the Reventure crowd. So we want to get to that and talk about your opinion on the Reventure crowd and exactly kind of what his comments have been, especially in Austin. But besides rates, walk us through what you're kind of seeing in the market right now.
Well, I got a couple different directions. You mentioned inventory, and I know we're going to get to that. I've got some thoughts on that for sure. Definitely rates. I'll tackle Reventure first.
Okay, let's go there.
I mean, this is somebody who He's been talking about Austin, Texas, and this is not a market that I'm particularly familiar with, but he's been talking about Austin for years. Okay, not weeks, not the last 6 months where we've seen things change when the Fed directly went after housing and put, a reset on the housing market. No. He's been doing it for 36 months, predicting this incredible collapse, telling people not to buy in 2020. I think every buyer in Austin, Texas, and for that matter, every town in America who bought in Q3, Q4 of 2020, who bought in 2021 is really thankful right now because they have so much equity in their home. They have so much home price appreciation. And you know what? They're locked into a rate that they'll likely never see again.
Right.
Or it'll be a long time before we see it again. In fact, that market that we just went through is unlike any market in the history of this country. So he can, like, one day I'll be right, keep putting out the same line over and over and over again. And that's what he's done. And his advice was really bad for about 30 months. In the last 6 months, he's been closer to being accurate. So I've got a real problem with that.
I would say from my standpoint, when it came to the Austin area, yeah, he'd been saying that it's going to come down, and his philosophy of why Austin was going to come down is 100% the opposite of what actually transpired. And it's one thing to be lucky, but Ian even sent me the other day, God, you sent me a TikTok or something of him saying these people just bought this to rent it out. They're going to lose money. They should never have bought this rental property. Bro, I'm selling my Sal Padre condo, and when that closes, we're buying 2 more units here in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Because Byron the other day was like, hey, interest rates are going to go up. Buyer demand is going to go down. So if you're a seller, get your home on the market. I listened to Byron. I got my thing going on the market because now I'm going to roll that over at 1031 and buy 2 more properties in Austin in the next 6 months. And Byron, you said this several times on your show, and we've been echoing this, right, Ian, that the better time to buy this year is actually going to be Q3, 4.
Yeah, well, Byron said, you specifically said, last call to sell your home, you have until the end of March with some kind of predictability, essentially.
Last call, because if I think that, hey, Q3, Q4 are going to be the best time to buy a house, and that's inclusive of Austin, right? I think in 2023, if we're making transactions, and we're talking about this year on how to invest in real estate, Q3, Q4, best time to invest, best time to be a home buyer. That means right now is the best time to be a seller. Okay. They're flipped. And so, yeah, Jeremy, I like what you're doing. Go ahead. If I've got inventory to sell, if I've got product to sell in 2023, I'm making that move right now if I can. And for you on a 1031, 6 months puts me in a pretty good position. Hey, guess what Fannie Mae's saying? Hey, guess what Mortgage Banker Association is saying? They're all saying we're going to end the year in the 5s on the 30-year fix. And I don't know, Jeremy, if you're going to go and leverage, pull some leverage, do a mortgage on some of these properties that you're going to go buy. You're going to move some 1031 money into it. I got that, but I don't know if you're going to mortgage the rest. If you are, the money is likely going to be cheaper before the end of the year. That's what all the consensus with all the banks are, that we're going to end the year in the 5s on the 30-year fixed. So price pressure is going to continue throughout this year, and we'll see lower prices by the end of the year, which is why it's best time to sell is right now. We're going to be further away from the peak at the end of the year. The money's going to be cheaper, and the inventory is going to be more flush. So for sure, I want to be a shopper in Q3, Q4. I want to get myself in position when I can go shopping at that time.
It's really interesting. I have 6 or 7 listings, 6 listings hitting the market soon. And I am pushing all my listing clients to list in March. Typically, I would tell my listing clients to wait till April or May even. And so I'm really trying to get my clients to get their homes on the market now for the simple fact that we do see more inventory right now. And I want to stay on inventory in a second because, or sellers, I'm going to say on sellers and inventory. Because right now, yeah, we do have a little less inventory, and the inventory, there's some interesting things happening with inventory because you've talked about that interest rates for those people are so low that they may not list. So the point I was going with sellers is like, I'm trying to get all my sellers to get out their properties on the market March. We're not waiting till April, May like we used to.
Yeah. And listen, the reason is if we get into a recession, and a lot of these things are ifs. Nobody has a crystal ball besides Reventure. 36 months, his crystal ball started to work. Nobody's got a crystal ball, but the tea leaves are looking like, okay, we might have a recession here in 2023. We certainly have stress on the economic situation that's happening. Okay. So there will be more inventory later in the year. Right now, we're across the country. You guys can speak to what it is specifically in Austin, but across the country, we're at the second lowest point for inventory. Most markets have less inventory now than we had in 2019. Okay.
That's crazy.
2019 in most markets was pretty normal. Okay. And so in almost every market in America, you've got less inventory now. In the Northeast, for example, which obviously things happen in the Northeast after the West, after Texas, after some of these other markets where there's more people, like Texas, there's more people migrating to Texas than there is the Northeast, right? People are leaving the Northeast and going other places. So it's a little bit slower, little smaller swings. But actually in Connecticut specifically, because I just looked at the numbers, there's less inventory right now than in 2022, which is just mind-boggling. But certainly almost every market has less inventory than 2019. And when we were in 2019 coming into 2020, it was a time where it's like, okay, this is going to be a normal market. Some markets have had some acceleration for some time. We're flattening out. And to have less inventory than that time frame, things were really good. People were buying homes. Is an insane number.
Yeah, I have clients coming from Boston right now. They're getting ready to list their properties in Boston. He's like, in our MLS in my area, in like a 3-mile radius, there's less than 3 homes available. In a 3-mile radius, that's a pretty decent radius size. And like in his like area, there's like 15 homes total. So yeah, inventory though in Austin is still higher than it was when we started last year, right, Ian?
Well, if you look at just
for sure from last year, I would agree. Everybody's higher than last year. Yeah.
If you look at just single family and just the city limits, we're talking 1,700 homes. You know what our population is right now?
Austin is what, 1.3 million?
I thought it was higher than that.
No.
That's what's difficult is we don't know who's moving in and out. It's moving so fast.
1,700 homes for a million plus people.
More than, yeah. I'm going to say closer to 2 million, but then a lot of people have vacated recently because they're going back to wherever they came from. Not a lot, but good amount.
And right now we're at like 460,000 homes in the country available for 330 million people. We have a huge inventory problem. NAR looks at inventory as homes that are existing on the market, which is the number I just told you, like 460,000. And then they clump in all of the pending sales. So they go off of this number that's at about 980,000 homes available. Well, more than half of those are already under contract with a buyer. So they're not really available. You can't go and get a showing on those homes and put a contract on them, right? So even if it was 980,000 homes to 330 million people, not a good ratio. A healthy ratio is closer to 1.5 million on the NAR number, okay? Which is like 750, 800,000 homes available, and we're in the 400s on true homes available.
Aaron says 2.3 million for the greater metro. I was talking about just Austin specific.
Same, just Austin specific.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the comments here, Byron, we have real estate agent out of SoCal is saying that they just don't have any homes that are basically affordable for the inventory. What I'm noticing in Austin here is a lot of the stuff that's on the market, I have to be honest, it's got to knock the 1995. It's got to knock the 2005 off of it and get with the times. So while we have a lot of inventory, I have clients that are looking right now, like in my area, like Belterra, High Point, for 650. Everything that's out there at 650 is older brown color cabinets, old like lighter color floors that don't really match the cabinets. And it's not really that nice. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit newer, but still, like, there's still not a lot of good inventory. A, B, there's still not a lot of affordable inventory.
Yeah, affordable. I've been begging for a number nationally where, okay, there's 460,000 homes available in America. Cool. Give me the number of homes at the median price point in those towns or below that are listed. How many of those are available? Because we all know a home shopper, a buyer who's been looking for not 1, not 2, but 3 years. And they keep coming in 2nd, 7th, 11th place in their bids. Because you know what? Those price ranges probably aren't going to drop that much in value. Because you got guys like Jeremy doing a 1031. He's coming in there and scooping them up. You got institutional invest. Now, I've got nothing wrong with the Jeremy Knight investor. I'm doing the same thing, right?
Right.
You got institutional investors coming in and they'll buy a couple thousand in those below median price points because they know the way the way the government is set up in most of these municipalities is very restrictive for builders. It's a real big burden to go out there and take the risk to build. And so it's harder for them to build product at those price points, which is why you see them always typically building above median price point in any given town.
Well, I mean, Ian, you could probably pull it up right now. I'm sure you're doing that. There was a young lady that kept commenting on the channel. She was like, I just put my third offer in under 500. And the point I was making is like under 500 still so competitive in the Austin market because let's be honest, most people that consider affordable homes are under 300,000, right? And we don't have many of those homes in the market right now. There's very few builders building in that. In fact, what we're looking at is when we're buying is 350 that's under 350 that's renting out for 2,500 a month with 25% down. That'll clear us on stuff. We're having a look at New Braunfels, and everybody's going to get mad at me for saying New Braunfels wrong, but New Braunfels, which is 45 minutes south of Austin, is where we're primarily looking right now because there's actual inventory in that price range that is renting for that. So but you can't really find the rental values in most of Austin with those prices.
Going still with single family, not condos or anything like that. In the houses under the median price, we have 431 active
in the entire MLS.
That's
Austin proper.
Yeah.
That's the real number right there. 431 for a major city in America, 431 units available that are median priced or below that are actually available to go and look at. Now, out of those 431, if we did a deep dive and started looking at how much of this is just absolute dog crap, where people haven't maintained their home, where they have no pride of ownership, right? They've been living like a slob for the last 20 years, and somebody's got to go in there and gut this place, okay? So is it really move-in ready? How many of these properties are what you see on HGTV? That's going to be a much smaller percentage than the 431. And remember, we got about 1 million people in Austin proper. That's insane.
Right. Well, on top of that, with the amount of low inventory, now you're having interest rates going up, which is just squeezing that price point even harder. Yeah. And you're saying, and what you're thinking is that we're going to be back into the 5s. So, one thing I want to get to in a second here is rental inventory. So all those people that can't afford, even though we have inventory available in the market, you're predicting that we're going to see prices come down. And I actually, for the first time in a long time, think we're going to continue seeing negative prices in Austin for the next 3 to 4 months. And then it'll really level out. When normally we should be doing this, we're probably going to do this, maybe not as quick. The February numbers are definitely going to be skewed because we had a really hot start to the year. Yep. And now what are we seeing? It's starting to slow down. Ian, is it starting to slow down?
A little bit.
Well, here's the thing.
I wanted to share this. You got to see this. It's just funny. Sorry. It's just funny. So this is
that's one of those 431 homes, Ian.
Yeah.
Way to go.
425,000 right here, 900 something square feet, 928 square feet. Obviously, it's a lot buy, but
Well, that was funny. The other day, I don't know who it was. Ken Pozek sent me a message about somebody tweeting about a house in Austin. See it, the crash is coming. This house was 400. Now it's listed at 230. And I actually broke down that even at 400, it was overpriced by 150 to 100, almost $200,000.
Right.
So it's still overpriced for the market.
I don't care about the list price, bro. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. So that's a prime example of what's actually out there for good inventory, for affordable inventory. When we're talking about the overall Austin market, and I saw somebody with the comment, can anybody make a good argument for Austin? I don't even live there, and I can make a great argument. The argument is people aren't going to stop migrating into Austin. So long-term, we're good. Long-term, we're good. While we're sitting through a volatile 2023 with the Federal Reserve, who had no other tool left in their tool bag but to say, we're going to reset housing in mid-2022. And that's what they did with the interest rates, was reset the housing market because, listen, they went way overboard printing money. Okay.
Oh, for sure.
And now they've got to go the opposite direction. And what do we know is going to impact people the most? It's these home prices, right? And so if you can bring values of these homes down, we're already seeing, right, rents come down a little bit in a lot of markets, not a lot of it, but a little bit. That's going to help people. And so that's what they've had their focus on. But long term, Austin's going to be really good. People keep leaving the Northeast. People keep leaving California. And so I think, and I don't spend much time in Austin. I'm definitely not, a stan like Jeremy and Ian of Austin. But I think Austin will be good for a long time.
Ian says reset power coming back on. I'm hearing it right now. The storm that's rolling through Austin is kind of coming through right now. So it's kind of getting crazy. The wind's getting pretty bad. Yeah. So we get a lot of trolls on the channel. And so I think straight to voicemail is kind of giving you a hard time, saying that you're shilling for Austin.
I like straight to voicemail, but here's the reality of 2023. And it's why Jeremy and I, and Ian, we were all talking earlier, where it's a great time to be a seller right now. We're as close to the peak as we're going to be for the near term. Here's something that the Federal Reserve just said in their meeting notes. In particular, the staff noted that measures of valuations in both residential and commercial property markets remained high. So even with the reduction, the cooling off of the top of the 10 plus years of appreciation homeowners have had in Austin, your values, even though they've cooled in the last 6 months, they still remain high relative. Think back the last 10, 15 years in Austin. But that right now, the potential for larger declines remain greater than usual. It's why if I'm selling in 2023, it's got to be now. And if I'm buying, if I'm investing, I'm probably looking to spend that money later in the year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think, for me too, I have those. So I think it's a double-edged sword. So I think there's going to be a lot of people forced to rent. And so right now, what I'm seeing a lot of our clients are doing, they're moving to Austin and they're renting. They're going to rent and see how the market goes. And there's a gentleman that's been on the show quite a few times, Logan. He said, you never catch a falling knife. You let it fall and then you pick it up. So basically what he's saying is keep an eye on the market. And when things level off, then you buy. So with this happening, I think there's two things going to happen. Prices are going to come down. You're going to have a lot of people run out and rent now. So you're not going to really see a major dip in rentals because our rental inventory is still very low. But what you will see is these rents are going to continue to start going up. Now, Austin, one caveat for Austin is the amount of builds happening right now for rentals is huge. Like multifamily is going crazy in Austin right now. A lot of these developers said, I'm not going to build single family anymore. It makes more sense to go build multifamily.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a fluctuation in rental rates here, but I think you're 100% right. The last half of this year, you're going to see everybody go, okay, rates just dropped, prices are down, I'm back in. because the 3% interest rate is well in our rear view, and it's not going to be around for any time soon. So when people see 5.5% again, it's exactly what happened the first 2 weeks of this year.
You know what else is in the rear view? It's gaining 25% on home value appreciation in a year. That's in the rear view for quite some time, even in a market like Austin, where people want to be, and you've seen so many big names over the last few years. Jeremy, you've done a great job on your channel covering all of that, going to Austin for obvious reasons. But you mentioned all of the multifamily happening in Austin, and it's happening in other parts of the country. You can thank your government for that. The government thought that allowing multifamily investors, making it easier for them to build as opposed to build single unit affordable housing to advance home ownership was a way to make housing affordable. Well, we know that the average renter is more than 40 times less wealthy than the homeowner. So the government just didn't care about that number. They didn't care about people being wealthy, right? They want people to, hey, stay in your box. Don't worry about having wealth. Just send in your taxes, right?
Yeah.
Listen, that's kind of the stance that they've taken. Now we've seen it with the Biden administration in the last couple of weeks. Say, hey, we got to get out there and get some more people, into home ownership. We've got to create opportunities for people to buy single units, because if we just put everybody in a rental, it's going to be really hard, to pay some of these Social Security bills and some of these things coming down the road, because people just aren't going to have the money to fund all of these social programs. Now, what's interesting is if you are a seller who wants to dip out of the market and get back in, the opportunity for you to save on your monthly number right now, it's about $800 less to rent on a same property, similar property that you could rent as opposed to buy. It's $800 less to actually rent that. So for all the sellers that are like, I don't know where to go, but you do what Jeremy just said, right? You sell your property near peak right now. You jump into one of these rental. There's an abundance of inventory that's going to be hitting the market, pushing rental prices even further down. You could save some monthly, try to get a 6-month lease where you can get out of it later in the year, maybe 9 month, and then go month to month. And then you can get back into the market as a buyer. It's super practical. Listen, it's advice I gave my parents last year down in Naples, Florida. I said, you're at the peak now. You're at the peak. You've made good money in the last 3 years. Go take that out without a capital gain hit and go into a rental. They did that. And now they're shopping again because prices are starting to soften a little bit.
I have a guy that's doing that right now. The only difference is he closed on his house the middle of last year. So the equity buildup hasn't been there. The equity buildup hasn't been there.
Oh, he closed on it last year. Got it.
Yeah.
But if he closed the middle of last year, listen, 99% of people on their mortgage right now are less than where we sit today at 7.1%. So the middle of last year, he might have been locked in at 4 or something, right?
Yeah. And it was a wash for him as far as like what he'll pay in costs and everything. He'll get out, he'll get an apartment probably for less money, and then be able to sit it out for a little bit and maybe even move closer.
I'm building a new place right now. Now there's going to be people that make lifestyle decisions like I'm making, where it's like, hey, I need a bigger place. I got 2 little girls. I can tell you what, and this is what's also hurting inventory. I'm not giving up the place down there, in Naples that I'm living in right now, because I've got a 2.75% interest rate on that thing. And so I don't know, the guy's got 4% or whatever. Those are going to be hard to give up. And it's going to hold back some of this good inventory. Ian showed the photo of one of those 431 affordable homes in Austin. Not even your gun-ho, ready to go new flipper is going to be able to tackle that. The thing was a lot.
Here's a good point. Just to our points right here is what Stefan's saying, is that he said he didn't buy because it's so much cheaper to rent. And I think that's why a lot of people in Austin are deciding to rent right now, because 7% interest rate at 650 is not the same as 650 at 3% interest rate.
No question. It's a lot cheaper for you to do that in 2003. Now, Stefan, if you were listening to Reventure, who told you that that was a good strategy in 2020, 2021, and we can run the numbers back, something he didn't do. It was cheaper to own a house on those 2.5, 2.75, 3% interest rates then. So it's not always, the math isn't always cheaper to rent. Right now, Stefan, you're 100% right. It's cheaper to rent. Long term, for the next 20 years, if you're a renter, the numbers are clear. You'll be 40x less wealthy than the homeowner.
So I do want to jump in here. I would say it could be cheaper to rent, but I don't think it necessarily is, especially here in Austin, because what you have is investors that purchase these homes and they're trying to pay their property taxes and make their same rent rolls, and they haven't deflated the rent numbers to match. So it could be cheaper in some spots, but it's not cheaper overall.
I like this comment right here, is that the investors are going to run scared because taxes really went up. Well, I'm curious to see what happens this year. So, Byron, this is something we talk about on the channel quite a bit. In Texas, every single year, your taxes are reassessed and they give you a new value of your taxes. So basically what they say is like, okay, your tax rate is 2%. And we think that your home was 600 last year, but it's 700 this year. And so last year we saw taxes go up 56%. So I think while you're seeing a lot of investors, and Aaron's nailing it right here, saw these huge jumps and go, I can't raise my rents high enough to actually cover that. And so now we're seeing where there's a disparity a little bit in some of these investment purchases that people bought as far as what they could have rented it for and now with taxes. So I'm curious to see, with prices coming down, will people in Texas and in Austin be able to actually argue the value of their home even less? I personally do not think that our tax districts have the stomach for that or care to do that. So we're going to see an even bigger pinch this year when they go back up. I guarantee you, Ian, in May, if they go up, we're going to hear so many people screaming at our legislators to fix this.
Well, Byron actually put out something about the appraisal process changing, and I wonder how that's going to affect us here on a local level.
With the Fannie Mae change,
yeah,
on the appraisals,
the value driven, because we're a non-disclosure state. People are pretty private with that. But then, so like you have builders that they don't tell anybody. You just have to figure it out. But then now, if they're going off of,
well, they're going to take into consideration agent.
You said third party, yeah.
Inspector input, even, which I thought that was a little odd.
Well, the big one was loans. So you said now they're going to be looking at their loan value, because before you had to do the appraisal. Now they're just going to say, okay, how much of a loan did you get? So the people that are paying cash or paying a larger down payment, they might be in a different situation.
So I want to answer this just to show that this person is not totally with us here. This is straight to voicemail saying, just to be honest, Austin peaked in 2021. He's also saying that we're scared and squeamish. I don't know. I got a lot of investments I'm good with. But this peak right here looks to me, if I'm not mistaken by the chart that I've put together, to be the peak, and it peaked in 2022. So sorry, dude, you're a little wrong there. Keep trolling.
Well, listen, people that have been renting the same basement apartment, they finally got out of their parents' basement and now they're renting a basement apartment, and they've been doing it for 21 years. They want to keep telling themselves they've made the right decision for 21 straight years. And listen, you probably do have an under market rent, straight to voicemail, because it's like, hey, I've got a tenant for 21 years. Yeah, I'll give you $200-300 off the rent every single month. Happy to have you, brother. Way to go.
I'm curious what peaked means. Right.
He meant values. I was assuming on the values. Here's the thing, right? We're definitely going to see, and we're seeing it right now, pressure from all different areas on prices. Taxes is something you can't run from. If you got a 50% increase in 1 year, to me, that's as big as an issue as anything we've talked about. I own property in Florida. It's where my primary residence is now, and they've got a really good tax system on, property taxes. You get your homestead if it's your primary, and it just goes up, a little bit, a certain small percentage each year, but it's a calculation that they use, and it's really low in comparison to where I own property in Connecticut. It doesn't get out of control. Connecticut can get all kinds of tax increases. That is an issue. And it's what we saw in Connecticut, why Connecticut took so long to come back. It took COVID for spots in the Northeast to come back because the property taxes were too high. So that would be the one thing that can really hurt Austin. If property taxes get so high, the money's got to come from somewhere, and it'll come from the valuation.
So I pulled something up thinking about what you were saying as far as the numbers and specifically the vacancy. Someone had mentioned vacancy. Of the 430 homes, 290, almost 300 of them are vacant.
Yeah. This is something I've been talking about a while, is that if you actually went through, Ian, and changed it and went to the entire MLS and then went to vacant properties just as vacant. Now, not all of them, when they say vacant, some of those occupied properties are going to be vacant. They just put it as occupied. But I guarantee you, if you did the math on it right now, over half of the listed properties in the market right now are vacant.
That's interesting to me.
I've looked at it.
It's a big number.
I look at it pretty much every month. I haven't looked at it. I mean, we're in the first day of this month, but usually I look at it, over half, almost 60% are actually vacant.
They need that much rehab, or what's the?
No, either. So you got to lump into that part of that's new construction. So it's going to show up as vacant.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of stuff that's just vacant. Like the seller moved out. It was their second home. They moved up and did their move up or whatever. And so that home is still sitting there because they didn't knock the 2005 off of it. They want the 2023 home, but they didn't, they left the 2005 on the home they're selling. So it's still sitting there with the 2005 on it. Selling, hey, it's a 2000s home. It's brand new, right? Yeah, it's almost 20 years old and it looks 20 years old. So that's a problem with some of that information.
Well, some of them could be Opendoor. They still have some properties around here. They still have a handful of properties around here.
Yeah, they do actually have quite a bit. Yeah, Opendoor is pretty prevalent still.
And if you look at what Opendoor, how many homes did they buy last year, and they're selling them all at a loss right now?
It's a great business model.
Yeah, when you're using other people's money, I guess you can afford to do it.
Well, I have a friend who works for Bungalow. And so, well, no longer Bungalow. He doesn't work there anymore. But Bungalow is one of the subsidiaries of those big companies that go through and just purchase up as many properties as they can. They rehab them and rent them out. And I kept saying that. I was like, you guys have to keep absorbing other people's money. You don't have your own money. You're just taking other people's money to purchase these homes. It's like, no. I'm like, you guys have to take other investors' monies. Otherwise, you're not creating enough wealth or enough revenue off of just the rents that you're making on those after rehab and everything. It's going to take years for you actually to be a profitable company. He kept arguing with me until he realized, oh, yeah, no, you're right. We just took $300 million from the Koch brothers or whatever it was, maybe $100 million from the Koch brothers. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to need to keep taking investor money. Otherwise, you guys cannot continue to purchase properties because when you go to sell them, you're going to take a hit. So
all these companies that keep coming into, and it happens a lot in Austin because they start in Arizona and they seep their way into Texas and some of these other markets that are running TV commercials in your home telling you that they are going to change the way real estate has always been done. They're lying to you. There's one company that's changed the face of real estate, and it's already happened. They've already won. It's Zillow. All these other companies right now that are following are absolutely not going to change anything. Opendoor is something that's always happened. I do not have a mullet. What is a mullet? I don't have a mullet.
Usually our third Migo, Kevin, he has a mullet. He's wanting you to be the third Migos, basically.
You either have a mullet or you have one of these, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Some longer hair.
Yeah, that's a Sarah. That's
hat. Your choice.
By the way, that's the Real Migo merch. If you want Real Migo merch,
let's go. Drop the link down below. Listen, Ian is a stylish guy right there. I like what he's got going on. Straight to voicemail says that we got to keep Austin weird, man. So there's a comment up here, and I really want to talk about this too. We have time. Perfect. So what do you guys think about CMBS going into foreclosures all over the place? Blackstone took $427 million in commercial foreclosures today. Curious if it correlates to residential. Now, you just talked about this.
I think today or yesterday. So I hear this all the time. Ian hears this all the time in Austin. I'm going to wait to buy our foreclosure home. Or I hear this as well. You had Patrick Bet David out there going, oh, it's up, 700%. Foreclosures are up 700%. Here it comes. I know for a fact, Byron, you have the numbers.
Yeah, CoreLogic says that foreclosures year over year change is a 0.4% percentage point decrease, not an increase. Okay. The 1 year ago was 3.4%. Right now it's at 3%. These are near historic lows on foreclosures. Okay. These are near historic lows. If you were going to be waiting to get a foreclosure, and we can get into the banking guidelines are incredibly strong right now. Okay. If you have not been in your mother's basement, like straight to voicemail for the last 25 years, and you bought homes in 2004, 5, and 6, you know how easy it was to get a mortgage. If you've been in the game of building wealth for a long time, you know how easy it was to obtain a mortgage and how incredibly different it is today to obtain a mortgage. So when we look at foreclosures, we look at the strength of these mortgages that people have out there. Again, 99% of people with a mortgage right now have a mortgage under 7%, which is where we sit today. So it means that the homeowners right now are not living in an unaffordable situation. If they're at 3% interest rate, they have a very affordable home that they're living in. Okay. When all of those foreclosures happened, by the way, we had different banking guidelines and we had people that were in interest rates similar to today, 6.5%, 7.5%. Okay.
Now Aaron's going to hit you. You said that. Aaron in the comments is going to say, but those prices were different back then. Those prices were lower. So what's your response to prices being lower back in 2005 or 6?
Yeah. I mean, everything was lower. We didn't just come out of, 3-4 years where we printed trillions of dollars. See, I think we have a situation right now where home values are cooling, but how much can they cool when our government decided to print all of this money? It flowed into real assets. Okay. And listen, we're in it now. We're in it until the end of this thing we call America. We're on the money printing machine. And what happens when you look at Canada, look at some of these other countries. What happens when you just keep printing money for all of these, social initiatives that you want to fund? Real estate goes through the roof. Okay. So we're going to have price pressure now. It's going to go down as we go long-term on this thing. Next 10 years, real estate's going to continue to appreciate. So the prices are different right now. Doesn't mean we're going to have an abundance of foreclosures that we saw back then. More than 50% of people have over 50% of equity in their homes. Back then, the market it dropped about 30%. You're not going to see a 50% drop in home values. The baby boomers in this country who own a lot of real estate, they own 1/7 of the world's wealth. The baby boomers, which is 70 million people to 8 billion, they control 1/7 of the money in this country, and they own a lot of real estate. They're not going to go sell these properties for 50% off. So the basement dwellers, all the trolls in the comments who think, oh, I'll just wait for all of these foreclosures. The boomers are still drinking martinis and playing racquetball, and they're owning 2 homes because they're the wealthiest people on planet Earth.
Well, and I think you got to think about who is asking or waiting for this. Like you said, you use the term basement dwellers. I smirk a little bit every time, but also you're thinking people that are in a situation where it's difficult for them to afford a home, and they think, okay, once the foreclosures happen, we can get one of those. But in Austin specifically, the people lying in wait, salivating, hoping that there are some price reductions, they've got cash ready. You're not going to compete with that. That's the hard part. That's the hard reality here.
So in the comment here, you have FJ. I think that means, I can't use curse words on YouTube, but he says that retire was right, which I imagine he's trying to say Reventure was right. I just want to comment on this because what's really important to understand is that Reventure was saying that the Austin market was going to crash because price appreciation was outpacing rental appreciation. It took him a year and a half to realize that interest rates are going to go up. So the reason why we're seeing this is because the Fed had to get involved. It had nothing to do with Reventure, what he was saying. A broken clock is right twice.
Everybody that listened to Reventure in 2020 and 2021 lost over 40% in equity they could have had if they bought in those years. He was giving out incredibly bad advice in 2020 and 2021. when listen, we were saying go buy homes. Those people were proving Reventure's point. No. He told people not to buy in 2020, 2021. Those people could have locked into a historically low interest rate at 2.5%, 3% and gained 40 to 50% on the value of their home. Now, what I'm saying, and Jeremy and Ian are saying, is here's the shift in the market. Here's the strategies that win in 2023. His playbook's never changed because he's the ultimate straight to voicemail. He's the ultimate troll. Here are the delinquency numbers. In foreclosure right now, 0.3% of mortgages, 0.3%, not 3%, 0.3%. 120 days past due right now, 0.9%. A year ago it was 1.6. That number has gone down. Our job market's very strong. We're at the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, okay? 90 to 100 days past due, 0.3%, same as this time last year. 60 to 89 days past due, we're at 0.4%, flat from last year, okay? 30 to 59 days past due, we're up a tick there, 1.4 to 1.2%. 30 days or more past due, we're down. We're at 3%. That's the number I gave you earlier, to 3.4%. Now, if you miss a month, job market's strong. That's why you see lower numbers in all of those later dates, is because job market's strong and people are catching right back up. These are all near all-time lows. 17% of U.S. metros have seen slight increases since December 2001. So on the other hand, December's 1.2 serious delinquency rate has barely moved since last spring. It suggests that while some borrowers may have missed a couple payments, most likely are to recover very quickly. Okay, that's what's going on right now on delinquencies. It's really hard to get somebody out of their house if they do go into foreclosure. And so even if we do see an uptick from all-time lows, it's going to be 2004 or 5 before you're able to scoop up an investment property, a foreclosure, which means another 2 years of the basement.
What's interesting here, I want to make a really good point, Byron, because I think you have also reached out or invited the Reventure guy, what's his name, Nick, to come debate you. I have as well. I got blocked on his channel for making comments. I don't block people on my channel for making comments. One, so Stefan's saying, and Stefan doesn't, I don't think is meaning this in a negative way. He's commented on a lot of my stuff. But he says there's two types of YouTubers. Trust me, I'm a realtor. Buy now. When did we say buy now? Did we say buy now? I don't think we did. And then the crash profits both make money with views. So what's interesting though, your Reventure God will not go on a live stream and actually banter back and forth with people saying things like Byron's just blowing smoke. But we will.
Because he picks little tiny points of data, makes a 10-minute video about it, and he would never debate the facts. You know, we got somebody in the comments right now talking about past dues. I just gave you the numbers. I just gave you the numbers. 0.3% of mortgages are in foreclosure. Okay. 3% of these are all-time
Wait,
lows.
this doesn't make sense.
Delinquency.
So what he's saying is 238,000 in foreclosure, pre-sale inventory at 2.02 million Americans and over 30-day past due. If Fed hikes, which they will, I think you'll see these skyrocket. Why? Why would they skyrocket? They're not purchasing. You're talking about people purchasing. So you're getting mistaken with, if I have an interest rate that is at 3% and I'm delinquent, if rates go up, that doesn't impact me at all. It impacts people that are actually like buying homes. So
nation's overall delinquency for December, 3%. Early stage delinquencies, again, 30 to 59 days, was 1.4%. All of these numbers are all-time lows. These numbers were higher in 2017, 18, 19, and coming into 20, coming into the pandemic. All these numbers were higher. All of them.
Ian, what do you got over there, man? You're thinking.
I'm still looking at, I'm listening to y'all go back and forth, and I'm looking at unemployment rates. Austin is in the top 30% as far as lowest unemployment. So I think
Austin's
Austin's
at 2.6 or 2.7. Did it come up?
Yeah.
Last I looked, it was 2.6%.
2.7.
2.7. So it did come back up. All right. And I said that, and I think in my last video that I put out, I said it's at 2.6. I imagine in January's numbers come out, it'll be 2.7 with all the layoffs we had. Alex says both sides are wrong. It's not going to be a major crash, but it's going to be a crazy, but it won't be a crazy, but it's not going to be a crazy market again. I think that's what we've been saying, is it's not going to be a crazy market.
Well, Alex, here's the thing. You can roll back the tape on me because I got a ton of YouTube content out there.
Yeah, he does.
You can roll it back and check the tape. In 2020, 2021, I was telling people to buy homes. And right now I'm telling you it's a better time to be a buyer later in the year if you're going to buy in 2023, and a worse time to be a buyer right now. And it's the best time to sell a house because you're near peak. So I put out a video every single day. I'm very, very easy to go and rewind the tape on. And so is Reventure. The problem is he's just been saying the same thing for 3 years straight.
That's actually a really good point. And I think Motmo said it too. What jobs came to Austin? Remote. There were a lot of remote positions, but these are people that are still investing and spending their time in Austin, investing in Austin properties, and spending their lifestyle here as well.
Man, these comments are fun, man. It's not very often, I know, Byron, when you do your show, you have a lot of realtors that comment. So it's good to hear you be able to push back on some of the other stuff that people are saying.
This show is incredible. I love this show. Boomer Lazine. Listen, what I do know about boomers, and I just gave a talk in Boston today, and there was a bunch of boomers in the room. I said, boomers, you guys have had it easy. You've been able to accumulate 1/7 of the planet's wealth. And I know one thing I know about boomers is they're living longer. They're living good. I get to hang out with a whole bunch of them down in Naples, Florida. They're all very active on the golf course. They're all playing pickleball. They're playing tennis. They're drinking martinis, and they're eating really fine dinners every single night. And a lot of them own 2 and even 3 homes. So when we think all this inventory is just going to come dumping onto the market, you either believe that all the boomers are going to die in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
They seem pretty healthy to me. Some of these guys are still driving 250 yards. Or you believe that they're willing to take 50% haircuts on cash investments on properties that they own free and clear. I don't see either happening. I see boomers living another 15, and I don't see any boomer out there that likes to lose money.
Well, and also you have to think about it. The ones that don't make it, right? A lot of them have families to pass these investments on to.
Listen, here are the 5 states that do have a higher than the national average on the delinquency rate. Okay, so let's see if Texas is in it. Overall delinquency rate, 5.7%. Mississippi leads the list. Louisiana's number 2 at 5.6. West Virginia is at 4.5. New York is 4.2. And Oklahoma is 4.2. But oh, by the way, all 5 of those who are leading the pack as the highest delinquency rates are down from this time a year ago. They're all down from this time a year ago.
And this time a year ago is when they allowed foreclosures to start again too.
Yeah.
Be very clear about that, because 2020, into 2020, 2021, you couldn't foreclose on anybody until the beginning of 2022. And that's where we saw a huge increase of foreclosure, like pre-foreclosure starts. And that's where everybody's like, oh, it's going to crash.
And Momo's got it nailed. Job market is still very strong. Why the hell are we talking about delinquencies? We've got 11 million job openings in this country. We've got unemployment at its lowest rate in 50 years. So especially businesses under 250 employees, they're driving this thing. Small businesses are growing right now. They're out there hiring. Okay. And as long as that continues, it's going to be really hard to continue to, entertain the trolls on the delinquency conversation, because I don't see it happening right now. Now, none of us have a crystal ball. And if you're in the camp where you're like, there's going to be massive layoffs across this country this year, if everybody loses their job, yeah, that's going to be a different story. If every single person gets locked into their house again for 90 days with COVID, 2024, that's going to be a different story, right? We saw what happened the first time. We can't predict those life-changing situations.
Dude, Byron, this is probably one of the best ones we've done, man. I love you. Before this, we said, I said, people are going to love you on here. And you said, or they're going to hate me. And we've got both.
You're going to be on one side or the other with me. Jeremy, you've got a little bit of that personality, but people tend to love you. And Ian, how could anybody not love you, my man? So I appreciate you guys bringing me on.
Yeah, man. Well, if anybody wants to harass Byron anymore, he goes on 8:30 in the morning, our time, Central Time, on BAM. You can go. That's the hot sheet. He's got 4 other shows, 5 other shows, 100 shows that he puts out a day. So you can find him there. He's got a massive team in Connecticut. You can find him on Broke Agent Media, BAM. There's all these places you can find him. Byron, thank you for the time, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that, Jeremy. I appreciate the plug. And I can't wait to come back on and have this conversation. The people of Austin are incredible to hang out with for an hour. So I loved it.
We'll invite Retire.
Dude, if anybody can get access to Reventure, I'd love to just have a conversation with him. I think his burner account is straight to voicemail. Straight to voicemail. Let mommy tuck you in tonight, like she's been doing the last 20 years. It'll be okay.
All right. Love you all. Thank you so much.
It's funny.